Breaking Bad is one of the most carefully written shows in television history. Vince Gilligan's team was obsessive about continuity, foreshadowing, and getting the details right. And yet, even this show has moments that, if you stop and think for more than 5 seconds, completely fall apart. Not the science stuff everyone always brings up. We're talking about character decisions, plot logic, and moments where the writers clearly needed something to happen and just hoped you wouldn't notice. Today, we're noticing. This is not a hate video. Breaking Bad is a masterpiece, and nothing we cover today changes that. But masterpieces still have blind spots, and in this show, they're fascinating because they almost always happen for the same reason. The story needed to go somewhere, and the logic had to bend to get it there. We're going through 5 moments where even the greatest show on TV looked the other way and said, just go with it. Here's why this matters. Breaking Bad spent 5 seasons earning the audience's trust through precision, foreshadowing details episodes in advance, building a world that felt genuinely consequential. When a show sets that standard, the moments where it slips become more visible. We're not judging Breaking Bad against average TV. We're judging it against the bar it set for itself. Moment 1. Jesse's RV loose ends. Early in season 1, the RV is Walt and Jesse's entire operation.
2.35 pounds.
2.35.
Then Emilio and Crazy 8 find it. The location is burned. 2 people know exactly where it is. Both end up dead. And the show just moves on. Anyone connected to them, associates, family, people who knew what they were doing that day, would be a loose thread with serious questions to ask. The show cuts that thread off screen and never mentions it again. What if even one of those connections had followed up? The whole operation collapses in episode 2. The show needed the RV to keep rolling, so it did, and the logic got left in the desert. That's an early convenience. But the show's handling of time gets even harder to explain as the seasons stack up. Moment 2. Walt's cancer timeline. Walt is diagnosed with inoperable lung cancer in episode 1. 2 years maybe. That diagnosis is the entire engine of the show.
You understood what I've just said to you.
Yes. Lung cancer. Inoperable.
The ticking clock that justifies everything Walt tells himself he's doing. Except the show runs for 5 seasons, covering roughly 2 years of story time, and Walt's cancer goes into remission, comes back, and gets managed in ways that quietly stretch the original prognosis into irrelevance. By season 5, it's less a death sentence and more a narrative tool the writers pick up and put down as needed. What if they'd committed to a harder medical timeline? The show would have been forced into a more compressed, urgent structure. Instead, the premise that started everything fades into the background for long stretches, which is a strange choice for a show that opened with it as the entire point. The cancer fades slowly enough that most people miss it. The next one is impossible to miss, if you're actually paying attention. Moment 3. Saul knows everything and does nothing. By the end of season 4, Saul Goodman knows enough to end multiple criminal enterprises and walk away with full immunity. He knows Walt is Heisenberg. He knows about the super lab, the cartel, the poisoning of a child, and he just keeps smiling and cashing checks. The show asks you to believe that a man who is fundamentally a self-preservation machine never once calculated that flipping might be safer than staying loyal to a chemistry teacher turned drug lord. What if Saul had actually behaved like the survival-first operator the show tells us he is? Walt's operation gets dismantled from the inside long before Hank figures anything out. The show needs Saul compliant, so he is, regardless of whether it makes sense for the character. Saul staying quiet is a character issue. What comes next is institutional. and it's been bothering careful viewers for years. Moment 4. The DEA never looks at Walt's finances. Hank Schrader is a DEA agent actively hunting Heisenberg, and he's also Walt's brother-in-law. Walt is buying large quantities of chemicals, depositing suspicious cash, and living noticeably well beyond a high school teacher's salary. And not one flag gets raised. No financial audit, no background check, nothing. The real DEA and IRS have systems specifically designed to catch exactly this kind of anomaly. The show just quietly decides those systems don't exist in Albuquerque. What if a routine financial review had flagged Walt in season 2? The show ends 4 seasons early. The writers knew this, which is why they made sure the DEA never looked in the right direction until Hank personally figured it out through a paperback book on a toilet. Institutions being conveniently blind is one thing, but our final moment is about a document that should have destroyed Walt the second he made it. Moment 5. Walt's confession tape is a legal disaster. Season 5. Walt is cornered, so he records a fake confession video blaming Hank for everything.
Hank has been building a meth empire for over a year now and using me.
Hank backs down. The show frames it as Walt's masterstroke. Cold, calculated, brilliant. Except it isn't. That tape is the most self-incriminating thing Walt has ever produced. It contains detailed, specific knowledge of how the operation worked, knowledge no innocent chemistry teacher could possibly have. It names locations, methods, and figures that would immediately raise flags for any federal investigator. And it directly accuses a sitting DEA agent, which would trigger an internal affairs review of Hank. A review that would uncover his real record and trace everything straight back to Walt. The tape doesn't protect Walt. Under any real legal scrutiny, it destroys him. The show needed a dramatic standoff and a moment of apparent genius, so that's what it gave us. The legal logic was the price, and it's the single biggest plot convenience in the entire series, dressed up to look like the smartest move Walt ever made. None of this ruins the show. Breaking Bad is still one of the most deliberately constructed pieces of television ever made. But that's exactly what makes these moments interesting. They reveal where story logic and dramatic necessity pulled in opposite directions, and dramatic necessity won. Every great show makes that trade. The question is whether the writing is strong enough to carry you past the gap before you notice it. Breaking Bad almost always is. Almost.